Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel Path to Allah. Ad was a descendant of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Thousands of years ago, his people had lived in the deserts of Al-Ahqaf around Oman and Hadramaut in South Arabia. They were strongly built and very tall. They believed in no God but worshipped idols. Prophet Hud alayhi salam was sent by Allah to preach and guide them on the right path. He advised them to worship one God as taught by Islam, but they paid no attention. Allah punished them by stopping rain, and drought overtook them for years. Then some people went to Prophet Hud alayhi salam begging him to pray to Allah for the rain. The Prophet prayed and instructed them to return to their villages. Thereafter it rained and people prospered. But never did they amend their conduct nor abandon their faith in idol worship. At last they were destroyed by punishment from Allah. When Ad died, he left behind two sons, Shaddad and Shadid. After some time, Shadid also died, and Shaddad became the ruler of his kingdom. He had appointed several governors in the areas over which he ruled. He grew so arrogant that he even claimed to be God and compelled his people to worship him. Allah sent Prophet Hud alayhi salam to approach Shaddad, advising him to correct his wrong thinking and conduct. In response, he once asked the Prophet what reward he could expect if he were to put his faith in Allah and worship one God. He was told that he would have a palace in paradise. Shaddad inquired what sort of palace it was. The Prophet described it as a blissful place where the righteous and true believers in Allah would after death enjoy the best of everything. Shaddad responded saying it was nothing, since he could also build a similar palace or even a better one on earth. He then resolved to build a huge and beautiful paradise of his own on earth. He sent someone to Tazi, who ruled Iran, with a request to purchase all available quantity of gold and silver. He also sent people around to other places and acquired large quantities of valuable items, including musk and amber, etc. He then gathered all his experts and architects and gave them instructions to construct a magnificent paradise on earth. A place with a good climate and scenery somewhere in South Arabia was selected. High palaces and towers with walls inlaid with gold and silver were constructed. Beautiful pearls and emeralds were spread on floors instead of sand. Trees made of gold with branches hanging with musk and amber were put up in the plush gardens. Every time the wind blew, the sweet scent of their perfume would spread around. Pretty women were accommodated there to beautify the dream setting. All valuable metals and materials were supplied, and it took some 300 years to complete it. In those very olden days, people used to live very long. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam had lived for 900 years. Similarly, Shaddad was informed that he would live about that long. So he was extremely anxious to enter and live in his lavish man-made paradise before his death. He gave order to all people to proceed to the walls of the dazzling city of high and magnificent pillars described in the Holy Quran as Iram Zatil Imad. Then he came out of his residence in Hadramaut with his large army for the opening ceremony. As he neared the paradise of his imagination, suddenly he saw a deer with trunk and legs gold of silver. He, he gave chase to capture it, but in doing so he got separated from his army. Now alone, unexpectedly, he was faced with a frightful horseman who in a raised voice said, "O Shaddad, you imagine that you will be safe from death and live forever after entering this man-made paradise on earth." Shaddad on hearing this trembled and inquired who he was. I am Malakul Maut, the angel of death, came to the reply. What do you want and why are you obstructing me? Asked Shaddad. I have come to take away your soul, he replied. Shaddad pleaded for some time and asked Malakul Maut to at least enter his paradise once. But the angel of death refused, saying he had no permission from Allah to do so. He then fell from his horse, and his soul instantly departed from his body. His army heard a deafening and frightening sound from the sky, and they also perished on the spot. None of them could fulfill their ardent desire of entering the fictitious paradise. The whole decorated structure crumbled and got buried under the Arabian sand. Dear viewers, what a splendid example of the consequence of one who thought he could challenge the might of Allah, who had become arrogant as a result of his enormous wealth. Who saw this city? In the era of the companion of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, the camel of a pious saint, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Kalaba alayhi salam, went missing in the desert of Adan, a city near Yemen. While searching for the camel in the desert, he discovered the paradise of Shadad and beheld its beauty. There was no person present over there. He took some jewels from there and returned. When Sayyidina Amir Muwayya alayhi salam came to know about it, he called Sayyidina Abdullah bin Kalaba alayhi salam and asked about this matter. After listening to the complete details, Sayyidina Amir Muwayya alayhi salam went to Sayyidina Qabul al-Ahbar alayhi salam and asked, does any such and such type of city also exist in the world? Sayyidina Qabul al-Ahbar alayhi salam replied, yes. Thereupon he mentioned the complete story of Shaddad and said, in your era a Muslim will enter this city while searching for his camel. His color will be red and eyes will be blue. He will have a short height and a mole on the eyebrows. Upon seeing Sayyidina Abdullah bin Kalaba alayhi salam, Sayyidina Amir Muwayya alayhi salam said, by Allah, he is the same person.
Allah